Welcome to the Women in Leadership Body, Soul, Mind, and Business podcast. I'm Heather.
And I'm Charlie. And together we are working to connect women in leadership and business to build relationships and empower each other, improving the health and wellness of our community, body, soul, and mind, sharing the heart and soul of who we are and what we do.
And today we have a special guest, and she is from way across the country from us. And so I love that we're in this day and age where we can connect with people near and far. And she's a valuable member of my community. She's a gardener. She's giving. She's kind, very loving. And please welcome to the table, Billi Getz.
Hi, thank you, Heather. That was such a great introduction. I love it. And I am way, way, way across the country over here in Pennsylvania.
Are you in the woods though?
I am now.
You are
I was
now.
in town, and we moved, transitioned out here to the wild, wild west.
I
all
always
kinds of wildlife and stuff.
I
Yeah.
always like to say we're somewhere in the woods in Snohomish County, like in the Pacific Northwest. So we're still connecting in the woods, right?
Yeah, we're connecting in the woods. So Billi, take a couple of minutes to introduce yourself, who you are and what it is you do.
Okay, so I'm Billi Getz, and by trade, what I've been doing the last 11 years is I've been in the network marketing space. I also, under my belt, have the role of mother, caregiver, professional dishwasher. I would love to add that to it.
No justing yourself here, right?
That's a never-ending chore.
I'm a laundry folder. I'm a professional laundry folder.
Yeah.
Well,
Yes.
I like that too.
Right?
But yeah, I have all those things under my belt. Like I said, I've been doing this network marketing thing, I like to call it, for the last 11 years. And I'm going to call it a profession because this is what I do from day to day. I don't work a traditional 9-to-5 job. That's how I earn my income. So, in that space, I have learned freedom. And what I mean by freedom is time freedom. I love the fact that I can go and do whatever it is, the task that I need to do, go do it, and then come back to what I was doing. And maybe leave off of it and go do something else and come back to it. I can fit my tasks in little pockets of my day. To me, that's worth all the money in the world, honestly.
And I like how you say you fit your business into the little pockets of your day, because wearing many hats as a parent, as a caregiver, as a wife, as a whatever hats you wear, we have to be able to fit things in, keep your big rocks and fit things in where we can.
Yeah, because life happens, and you have to be able to be flexible with it. Like, if something happens to the point where maybe you have to walk away from your business for 3 or 4 hours, maybe there's an emergency, so be it. You can always come back to it. But sometimes the life just throws us those curves in. And it's nice to have that freedom where you don't have to go to a boss and say, hey, I need to leave right now. Well, you have to wait 15 minutes or whatever, whatever the case may be, or ask for time off for vacation. We all
Oh gosh. I know some like single moms in my neighborhood, like when they ask for time off, they get read the riot act. Are you sure you need to go home? Are you sure your kid needs to go to the hospital? Like, yeah, my kid needs to go to the hospital. I gotta go. Bye.
Or they act like there's somebody else that could take them. Like, isn't there somebody else? No, I'm his mom. I'm going to take my child.
When you're doing it by yourself, you don't have those luxuries, And that was, I'm so glad you brought that up or maybe I said something about that, but that was one of the final straws that made me walk away from my job in September of 2020, because I asked for time off and she said, well, you are down the chain on seniority. Even though I had been in that space for 10 years, I was down on the seniority list, and I had to wait till everyone else had their vacation. So I had to put mine off And the more I thought about it, I'm just like, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to give my time and my life to some place that's going to replace me within 2 seconds after I leave. So I did. I left.
Mm-hmm. It's that place of value, right? We all hold value, and if we are not being valued where we're at, we are unhappy, and we are like, it's like punishing ourselves.
Yeah.
Every day.
Every day. Why would we do that?
I remember going to work just crying every day.
Torture. And my mornings, I would wake up and I would be like, oh my God, I have to do this again. Like, it got to the point where I was just so unhappy with life in general. So.
And then it trickles out. So we're unhappy. So then our kids are grumpy, and if you have a significant other, then you're taking it out on them. Like, you know, like, that's not a place where I wanted to be at all. And I'm so glad I'm so far from that now, because now I can take a happy strip and relax. And
I can totally relate to that, because I was not pleasant to be around.
Right.
And I would totally unleash on other people, and it had nothing to do with them. It was how unhappy and how much that I didn't like the space that I was in. So I think that's one of the biggest things. We need to really listen to ourselves and see where we need to change and actually make the change. It was hard. It was hard for me. I went to college for that. I was in that medical space that I went to college for, and I tried to talk myself out of it. I said, you know, I spent all this money, I took all this time, got this degree, did this for myself, and this is not what I want. But sometimes you just have to take a look at that bigger picture and say, okay, there's something better for you out there.
I often recommend that people write that down. What do I want? And then until you can answer that question, you know, like, ask yourself that every single day until you can really answer it. Because when I started doing it, I would stare at that blank page like, I don't know what I want, because I was so reactive to my circumstances, to everybody else, what I was supposed to do, what I should be doing, I was shitting myself.
You were
I love that. Tony Robbins says that. Quit shitting all over yourself.
Right. Like, and it's so miserable in the shoulds.
Yeah, I agree 100 with that.
Right, because you're judging yourself.
Yeah,
for not meeting those expectations.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
Well, right.
The 4 Agreements. Have you read that book?
I have not, but I've seen so many people say about it. It is not on my book app.
It is not. I have it on YouTube. I can listen to it on my YouTube. Do you pay for YouTube Premium? Because there's books on YouTube Premium. I was discovering.
You know, I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either. I just discovered it.
I thought about, once I'm done recording all the chapters for the Yoga Sutras, I should do the chapters for the 4 Agreements.
Because we talk about it a lot. Because you know, not taking things personally, being impeccable with your word.
Don't make assumptions. And do your best. And then you have to assume that other people are also doing their best. And when you change that mind shift that everyone is showing up doing their best,
it probably makes that much more of a difference. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, and your best is going to be different depending on what you're going through in that moment. You know, your best is going to look different when you're tired versus awake, and all these other things. And ultimately, you have to understand that you have control over your actions, over your breath, over your body, and how you perceive things. You have control over that. So if you look at it from a shoe on the other foot, like, if this person has their own story, they have their own reality, that is
their own childhood trauma, their own traumatic experiences. Maybe they also suffer from PTSD, like all the things, right? And then they're reacting to you, right? But they're not really reacting to you, they're reacting to their situation. And it really helps you separate mine or them.
Uh-huh.
Are
And
these
not
my
take it
monkeys or your
personally.
monkeys? You know what? I don't want my monkeys.
Yeah.
Are your monkeys? I got enough of my own.
Yeah.
So, and then when you're not taking things personally, you're not perpetuating that back and forth arguments and things.
You're not
Right,
guilting
right.
yourself. You're not shaming yourself because you're not judging yourself because you're not
Mhm.
taking it personally. It's so cool when all these things happen.
Yeah. And
Yeah, I need to get my hands on that book. I really do. I think that would be a game changer. I
it
really
is really
do.
good.
Yeah.
Well, you can go back and listen to we did a whole week of it on our podcast at the beginning of July. So there's that. We also have a quick intro that we did on TV.
Yeah, we did. We were
took over a
Lisa
TV show.
Hannigan's Engage and Shine, and we did
it
show on
specifically for
the-
showing up visually, because that's what she does. She is
Mhm.
like Engage and Shine is her show theme. So we did a quick overview of all 4 agreements too there. It comes up a lot for us because it's been such a game changer book.
Huge game changer. Yeah.
We talk about it all the time.
Yeah. Well, that's good though, that you dig deep into those things. Like I'm sitting here thinking to myself, I have recently just made a change whenever I do read a book, because I read a lot of books. Let me back up. I start a lot of books. I read part way and I see another book and I'm like, oh, I got to start that one. So I have like five books in process.
I'm guilty of that too.
Yes, same.
But here's what I've done to change kind of how I read now is I study rather than just read.
Yes.
So I'll read a chapter and then I'll go back and I'll reread that chapter. And then I'll go back and I'll reread that chapter. I do it like 5-6 times to really understand what it's saying and get the most out of it that I think I can.
Right.
So.
Especially when you're reading these self-development, self-improvement type books that you really want to get the meat and potatoes out of it.
Yes.
You know, that's a really good way to do it is by studying it. You know, I underline and highlight and make notes in the margins. She's guilty of that too.
That's how we know whose book is whose. Because we have because for the podcast we use like a set of books that we've developed, right? So we each have a copy and she'll be like, oh, this one's yours. I'll be like, oh, this one's yours, because you'll thumb through and you'll see like the writing and who's highlighted what, and that's pretty awesome.
That's pretty cool.
So you've been doing network marketing for 11 years, but it's only been the last couple of years you're doing it full time.
Yeah, since September of 2020.
Which sounds like a crazy time to have started doing it full time, which actually is when I met you. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah. And it was a crazy time because the pandemic was already in full swing. When I told my dad what I did, the first week after I left my job to continue this, let me just preface this by saying I had already been in that space and I was already making equal to my income. That's why I was like, okay, I can do this. I can make it on just that.
You were already making equal to your job income in this space that you fit in to what you're doing every day.
Yeah, and I was there were days I was working 12-hour days. So it was too much. It
is too much because you're running a full business, working full time, and then trying to run your house, and you're a mom and you're a caregiver, and like all the things add up, right? Yeah. So all these hats are like something's got to give, right?
Yeah.
And
but it was a crazy time that I left my job, my full-time job to do this. A week after I quit, my dad started bringing me applications. I said, what are you doing? He said, well, you need a job, don't you? And I'm like, no, go away. Like, I'm not doing this. Like, you have to take me seriously. So that was one of my biggest, I don't want to say a struggle, but it was the biggest hurdle that I had to overcome, was to make people understand and to take me seriously, understand what I was trying to do and to take me seriously. Because I think a lot of people see that and they're like, oh, how's your little business going? Oh, my business is going fine. they belittle it because they don't understand, which is okay. I'm here to educate people. I will talk to anybody any day and let them know the ins and outs. I'm so very transparent, very open with people.
I think that's a lot for women though too, when we do start any kind of business. Because I'm when you say that, I'm thinking of like
a brick and mortar,
even a brick and mortar, or like someone's trying to get like something up and going, but their partner's like, go to work, go to work, go to work. Like I am. I am.
Going to work.
Well, like, that's funny that you say that, because now, so I have transitioned in just the last 6 months to, I don't live in my house anymore. I have moved out here with my boyfriend's grandmother. She is 103. Because I'm in this space and because I can work from anywhere at all that I want to or need to, it allows me to be here with her full time, because she needs someone here full time. They didn't want her to get putting in a nursing home, or have someone else come here and care for her, because it just wasn't in the cards for him. He works full time.
Right. And it's really expensive.
It very much so. And she's on a fixed income, as anyone is at that age. Well, most people don't live to that age, but trying to get her to understand, you can't just say, Billy, come here all hours of the day if it's not something that you really need, because she's working. I mean, he sat her down and had this conversation with her. When she has that phone in her hand, it's not because she's sitting there playing a game or ignoring you. It's because she's doing work. So, that's trying to get people to understand that too. It's just a little bit harder, but
you've been really, really busy lately.
I have.
You've been super very, very busy lately.
And I have a garden growing. It's producing already.
Your garden is beautiful. You do these great things where you walk through your garden in the morning on your stories. I love that. Yeah, I love it, because you're growing things that I can't even imagine us growing. Right. Like the watermelons. Like, what? That's so cool.
I planted watermelon seeds, but
they don't really grow here. Like,
I didn't have any idea it was going to take up that much space. Next year, when we plant this, we're going to have to do a 10-foot by 10-foot space just for the watermelons. I had no idea that they would spread like that.
It's so cool.
Yeah. But
I didn't know either.
Like you were saying, I put it in my stories. So if I forget to put something about my garden in my stories on any certain given day, someone will be in my inbox saying, is everything okay? I didn't see you outside today or whatever. People have grown to know that that's part of my story, that I have this big garden that I go down and spend a little bit of time in every day.
And I know for me, that gardening space, it fills my soul. Working in the garden is very meditative for me, and I can think through things and problems and mentally it's been so good for me to be in the garden. And Billy, I know that that's true for you also.
Oh my gosh, yes. When I go down there, the first thing I do is I take my shoes off. I'm a little afraid of snakes because I'm not great at weeding, but I just like to go in there in my bare feet and play in the dirt. I'm a half an hour minimum a day is what I do in the garden. That is my me time during the day.
Half hour of earthing, because you're like taking.
You taught me that.
Yeah, we just learned it at the beginning of June. I didn't know it was a thing. Like, I was like, that's so cool.
Well, I knew it was a thing. I didn't know there was a term. Yeah. Some people call it grounding, some people call it earthing, but it's really just getting your bare feet or hands or whatever into the dirt and absorbing those nutrients and grounding your energy through the dirt, just like electrical currents are grounded in the dirt. We also have energy running through us that needs to be grounded in the dirt. It's really cool what it does.
And I know I've worked really, really hard in Charlie's garden. Like, I love it. I love getting to do it, but it hurts me physically. But I would notice that, like, even though it, like, my muscles are screaming at me, I'm just so much calmer.
Yeah,
Like,
and you want to keep going. You're like, here, I'm out here yesterday or 2 days ago when it was 95 degrees and there's just sweat running off of me. And I'm like, but I don't want to stop. I have so many more beans to pick. But it's just like you can't, once you start, you don't want to stop. It's so
that's
soothing.
this one, definitely.
Yeah.
If we start really early in the morning, she's out there all day. Like, it just like she perpetuates for her.
Well, and in the summertime, especially, it's like you almost have to do your gardening early in the morning or later in the evening. And I know later in the evening at my house, I have a pond, so the mosquitoes are out. So I try to do all my gardening in the morning before the mosquitoes are awake.
Yes.
Yeah.
But then we sneak out there before the mosquitoes wake up.
So I'll sneak out to the garden at sunrise and pull some weeds and pick some vegetables and things, and then turn the sprinkler on and go back inside and all
And
that.
that being hands-on is just so good for us. And then it's brought so much joy, not just to you, but to other people, because you're sharing it, watching your garden grow and surprise us with all these watermelons and, like your zucchinis the size of your arm.
I am about zucchini'd out. I actually had to put a post up last week asking people, please give me your zucchini recipes because I have so much it's coming out my ears.
Did you try the crisp recipe? Did you try the crisp recipe?
No, not yet. Not yet. But
I'm curious about that one.
Here's, you know why I haven't tried that one yet? And I will be 100% honest with you. It is so hot, and Graham does not believe in air conditioning. So we have it up here. We have it in our space, but I am not turning the oven on down.
No way. It's too hot. But I think that would be one where you could freeze the zucchini and then, like, if you chopped it up and freeze it.
I have to look at the recipe to see how, I don't know if it needs chunked or sliced, but I do shred an awful lot for zucchini bread in the wintertime. And I freeze it. It freezes.
I have a bunch in my freezer too. Yeah.
Yeah. It freezes amazingly well.
It really does.
Those are great gifts too for Christmas. We were talking about like taking things from the garden that we're creating and making, and like how can they become Christmas presents, like holiday gifts and things like and so zucchini bread is a great example of like, here I grew this and now I can give you a little mini loaf. And
and it's so good.
It's so good. And then it's also gives, as you give these things as gifts, it's an abundance from your garden that you're sharing with someone else. So you're sharing your abundance with someone else. Think of it that way, and it's more heartfelt than, hey, I bought this thing on Amazon for you or whatever. But it's like effort was made, and things like that. Yeah. And Heather's been great helping me with the strawberries in the garden, because we got like gallons of strawberries in the freezer.
That's a project for next year I want to check into. I'm going to research it because I would love to have strawberries.
Yeah, I planted about 3 or 4 different kinds of strawberries about 3 years ago, and this year they
were gangbusters.
They just went crazy. But we grew these strawberries, we picked them, we processed them, we put them in the freezer for a little bit, and then last week we made we started to make strawberry jam, but it didn't quite jam, so it's more like strawberry sauce.
So good.
But it's so good. We've been putting it in our drinks, like iced tea,
strawberry lemonade.
And
you can put it over top of vanilla ice cream too. Oh my gosh.
Yes,
I've done that.
Okay, so she made homemade ice cream, put it in the ice cream, and then we also had it on top. So good. She made homemade ice cream. It was rad.
So I know
like, she spoils me.
When we're done with this podcast today, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going downstairs to get some ice cream. I just chopped up strawberries this morning. I'm going to put strawberries on top of it. I don't have the jam or anything, but you guys are making me hungry.
All right.
Well, I figured this is just something I can just tie a little ribbon around the top of the jar and
Mhm.
put it in like a little gift bag or something, and give that and maybe a couple other things as gifts to different people in my family for Christmas. And it's not really costing me anything extra.
Right, right. Yep.
And it's I really enjoy
We
the
had
process.
so much fun
It was
doing
so much fun.
this.
Anyway,
I mean, it was a lot. Like processing all of those berries was a lot. Hours of processing, like getting them all cleaned and everything. But like making the jam and stuff, we had like people over and we just like all worked on it, and it was so fun.
it
And
was fun.
it was a really good time.
Really
So
good.
it's like
Yeah.
creating community and so much love in the air when you do that. Like
And
Yeah.
we went like way off track talking about gardening
we
stuff.
did, but
when we
being
talk about
hands-on
community
is
and
one
being
of
hands-on,
the things, that we're talking about this week.
Mhm.
What would you say is your top advice for somebody that is new or wanting to explore network marketing and they're feeling
Well,
apprehensive?
apprehensive. Okay, first I would say to them, why. I would have them ask themselves why they're apprehensive, and then dig a little deeper into whatever that answer is and ask them why again, and why you would want to instead of why you wouldn't want to. I think though it's important to really dig deep and continue asking those questions, because so many people will just, I don't have time, they'll just give the first answer off the top of their head. Or I'm not a salesperson, I can't do this. I talked about this in my story this morning. I had a few people over the weekend approach me and say, oh, I could never do that. I could never do what you do. And I said, why? Can I ask why? Well, I'm not a salesperson. I said, okay, so your hair looks amazing. Where did you get the shampoo? What shampoo did you use? And they told me what shampoo they use. And I said, okay, where did you get it? Walmart. I said, you just did what a network marketer does. Only you didn't get paid from the company of the shampoo that you used. Whenever I share, I'm doing the same exact thing. I'm sharing what I love with someone in a non-spammy way, just telling them what it is, explaining how it would benefit them, and giving them the opportunity to make the final decision whether it's for them or not. That's all I'm doing. It's the same thing. So that's one of the basic things that I tell people if they're apprehensive about this, and is to look at those things that they're telling themselves, or maybe it's what they've heard from other people as to why they think they can't. Because quite honestly, you tell yourself so much BS on a daily basis. If you would just crack that open and really take a deeper look, they're BS excuses.
Stop prejudging yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I mean that's what I would tell someone if they're apprehensive about it. What's the worst thing that could happen? I mean, take that into consideration also, but what's the best thing that could come out of it?
I think I have been more surprised by the benefits in my life from being in this industry now. Like the friendships, the connections,
The self-development
piece, like, because that's a big part of it, is that we make a commitment to ourselves that we're going to take 15 minutes. That's all we ask to start, right? And then once you get into the meat of it, you're like hours, but
Exactly.
we won't tell them that yet, right?
That's one of the things I love about network marketing is every single network marketing business that I've ever come across really focuses on that personal development piece.
Yeah.
For their people.
Because if we can't get out of our own ways, if you tell yourself, I can't sell, if you say that to yourself, you can't.
Yep, there's your block right
there. There's your block. Okay. So, and sometimes they're, in there deeper, right? Like I will just tell myself I wasn't intelligent. Like I wasn't smart because I had a brain injury when I was a child and I had to relearn to read. But the message I got was, I wasn't smart. In reality, I have a very strong brain and I'm always willing to learn and grow and, but that I needed to know that. And that came through the self-development piece.
Yeah.
Like no one could tell me that.
Social selling with personal development, or personal development with a little bit of social selling on the side.
Right.
Because it really, honestly, this is all about growth. If you think about it, it is all about going from, you're starting here as a little baby seed,
Yeah.
and as you grow and water yourself and learn how to do it better, get accustomed to the systems that are in place for whatever space you're in, until you're full grown. You know what I mean? Well, we're always growing, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's such an evolution of yourself. It's so much more than network marketing, honestly. It's a whole life growth. And I won't be anywhere but in this space since I've experienced it so long. Yeah, there's no way. Now, I will be honest, it's a roller coaster. It's not going to be all unicorns and sunshine. It's not. But those days, whenever it's hard and you say to yourself, I don't think I can do this anymore. Is this really worth it? Then you really start looking and digging, and maybe you get to the point where you're in tears. I've been there, but it far, far outweighs, all the benefits far outweigh any little bit of hesitation that you might have. Yeah. So I highly recommend it to everybody. I mean, I'm always talking about it. People probably get sick of it, but you know what? I have a mouth for a reason. I'm going to use it.
And you're allowed to have a voice.
Yeah.
That's important. And I think that that's one of those things that in a traditional job that is hard to have. And I think that is the biggest piece for me is I have a lot to say. I have a podcast so that we can all say what we need to say. And I really love that. And as part of our podcast and connecting with entrepreneurs, it's really important for entrepreneurs as we're moving away from more corporate America to be giving back in our communities. So on the podcast, we always pick a cause of the quarter and make sure that we're educating and donating to our cause of the quarter. You want to tell us about our cause of the quarter?
Absolutely. Our cause of the quarter this quarter is the Tears Foundation. And what they do is they seek to compassionately lift a financial burden from families who have lost a child by providing funds to assist with the cost of burial or cremation services. They also offer parents comprehensive bereavement care in the form of grief support groups and peer companions. And some other really cool things they've done more recently is as they're branching out to more international places, they're going into places like Africa and things like that, and really teaching the members of the community how to properly put their babies to sleep. SIDS is a big, big deal everywhere around the world, and being able to put your baby to sleep in the safest way possible helps prevent things like SIDS from happening. This is a cause very near and dear to my heart because not only have I lost a child, but so has my sister. And so we have been supporting the Tears Foundation since they supported us. And they are on their 25th year now, and they've grown just from this little place in Sarah Slack's heart in Puyallup, Washington, to all over the world. And it's amazing to see what they're doing. So if you would like to support them, check them out at thetearsfoundation.org or see the links in the comments. And now through about the middle of August, Rochelle is donating a portion of the proceeds from her book, Silent Grief, Healing, and Hope, to the Tears Foundation. So thank you, Leslie, for that. And use the, if you are interested in purchasing the book and supporting the cause in that way, use the link in the description to order it. And that is how the funds get where they're supposed to be. So thank you again to Rochelle.
Yes. Thank you so much, Billi, for having a conversation with us today. And
Well, thank you for having me. This is only about the third time that we tried this.
we always,
There's that flexibility.
right? We
Right?
always say it happens when it's meant to.
Right.
Absolutely.
And that we really have felt that like
Mhm.
it really happens when it's supposed to. And this week we're talking about being hands-on and getting in our gardens. So that's perfect.
It's perfect.
It
Yeah.
matches you perfectly. I was like, this aligns perfect. No worries.
It's all good. No,
Right.
so Billi,
Thank you
it's
so much for having me. I do appreciate you having me on here.
it's been a pleasure for sure. We're both delighted. So thank you for coming and chatting with us today. And thank you all for supporting us and downloading the podcast and for all the wonderful information. Go ahead and check out our website at www.womeninleadershipbsmb.com.
.com.
And we can't wait to see you till next time.
Yeah.
Yeah, we love you all.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Mwah.